Very good afternoon to everybody, and once again, a very warm welcome to our Business Spotlight interview series. My name's Ron Maycock. I'm the owner of Action Coach Castleford and Business Performance UK, and I'm delighted to be joined today, this bright and sunny afternoon in Yorkshire, by Wes Blackburn. Very good afternoon to you, Wes.
Afternoon, Ron. Good to be here.
It's great to have you with us. Wes is director of Allerton Damp Proofing Limited, and we'll be hearing a bit more from Wes in just a few moments. Before we do that, though, really wanted to explain what the purpose of these interviews actually are. We're surrounded by some amazing businesses in our region. They're each got their own stories to share, and they're each on their own journeys. And these interviews help us share some of their achievements, showcase what they're actually doing, and we do that all in the sort of sense of building abundance and raising awareness. So the more people who hear about Allerton Damp Proofing, then the better. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Wes. So Wes, do you want to tell me a little bit more about Allerton Damp Proofing?
Yeah, sure. So Allerton Damp was founded in 1983. It's started by my dad originally, who's since retired. It's a family company, remains a family company. We're a specialist construction company in that we deal with all things damp related, damp, woodworm, dry rot, that kind of thing, the typical things that a damp proofing company might deal with. But what sets us apart is that we're a main contractor as well. So we can do a full range of construction work with that work to complement the repairs and make it easy. Customers observe kitchen fitting, bathroom fitting, electrical, etc., which other damp proofing companies don't typically deal with. Since our foundations in 1983, we've grown quite considerably. We're now a medium-sized company. We employ around 52 people, and that number's increasing all the time, especially with the particular attention the media and the public are taking at the moment to damp and mould.
And is it all remedial work, or do you get involved with preventative front end with a new build and actually doing the sort of damp proofing ahead of any problems?
It's within our capabilities, but predominantly we're a sort of a retrospective repair company. So usually the typical kind of housing stock we work with is older housing stock. It's older sort of 1970s and earlier, predominantly, which and for the vast majority of what we do is social housing as well. So we work on many sort of former council estates now managed by housing associations or quangos. We tend to deal with repairs to that kind of housing stock, and we see a range of buildings from a sort of a typical domestic property to commercial properties to historic buildings. Our surveyors and staff tend to come across quite the spectrum of different work across predominantly Yorkshire.
Yeah, excellent. And you say predominantly Yorkshire. How far afield will you actually go?
Well, we cover the entirety of the Yorkshire boundary, and the furthest afield we work. We do work in Chesterfield, and we work in Teesside as well. And just extending that area of operation because of sort of the emerging opportunities in markets that we haven't traditionally serviced. It's damp is a nationwide concern, and it just at the time being especially, it seems right that we kind of push the boundaries of where we're currently working to service more clients.
So do you get involved with anything, let's say, post-flood? It's been well documented, certainly in this neck of the woods over the last sort of 10, 15 years. There's been a few severe cases where, there's been lots of damage across Yorkshire from flooding. So is that something that you get involved with, or is it more, call it traditional damp proofing that you would see in a residential property?
Yeah, well, I mean, damp takes many forms. Flooding's, flood damage is one of them. The approach to, repairing different kinds of damp is different on a case-by-case basis, depending on the property and what kind of damage has been caused, also what's likely to happen in future, as well as a bearing on the plans for repair that surveyors may draw up. Flood damage, yeah, we work in and around York quite a lot, so we see a lot of properties that have suffered flood damage, or properties that are suffering from, should we say, sort of saturated subfloor areas and foundation areas, which can cause all kinds of problems for timber floors and concrete floors and the entire property itself. And interestingly, obviously in York, we've got a lot of historic housing stock as well, so those repairs can be quite intricate. So yeah, particularly flood damaged properties pose their own challenges, but we service a full spectrum of damp work we can carry out, from rising damp, penetrating damp, flood damage, etc.
So, and how do people hear about you? So, as you said, damp and mould and things like that has been, all over the news recently, and rightly so. Are you quite outbound in terms of your marketing and everything like that, or is it a case of a distressed purchase where people go, "Hey, look, this needs sorting out"? So how do you go about growing the business?
So we tend to try and push the boundaries wherever we can in terms of our outreach to consumers and potential commercial customers. We are, if you type in damp proofing and you're in Yorkshire, you should see us pop up. But yeah, you're right. You're predominantly this can be a bit of a distressed purchase rather than something that's sort of an aspirational purchase. You're not buying a gold watch from us. You're getting essential repairs to your home. So people, may turn to Google predominantly to find us, or some of the many of the trade directories that we're part of. Word of mouth is a big one. We act on a lot of recommendations for our private sector customers, most definitely. But the business itself is made up of two halves, really. We work for private customers and we work for landlords predominantly, and these can be anything from local authorities to housing associations to private landlords. Pretty much anybody or any organisation that owns a large stock of houses that suffer from damp. And predominantly, from what we see, housing associations and councils in particular are really on the back foot at the moment, or can be on the back foot, due to sort of the forthcoming changes that everybody's anticipating to do with what's called AWAB's law, which people may have heard of. It's been very predominant. The case of AWAB has been widely reported across all media. So it's damp and mould is a real prevalent concern for people, and it poses the greatest challenges for, as I say, organizations that hold thousands and thousands of properties. They have a high housing stock that may have these sort of issues inherent to them, and they all need repairing in a timely, sort of proactive manner. And the rule changes and the law changes that are coming into place, or will be coming into place, are really going to press home the importance of being proactive rather than reactive. And one of the things that we're doing to help our commercial customers as well as private landlords is to ensure that they are ready for the forthcoming changes.
So what challenges is that throwing up for yourself then as a business?
Awareness has been a problem. I say a problem. Awareness has been a challenge up until recently, I think, and getting people to realize the severity of the problem that they're facing when they encounter damp in their homes has been a challenge up until late. But awareness has kind of, as I say, evaporated lately, due to just the massive media coverage that we've had on the subject area. These days, in terms of problems facing, I say, the industry and us in particular, is what I would say is the perception and the approach to fixing these issues. There are companies and landlords and even people who own their own homes who still see damp as a bit of a sort of cyclical kind of maintenance issue, where it's something that can be painted over. It's something that can, be ignored, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll push that down. We'll kick the can down the road, and it just that just isn't possible now. But nevertheless, the changing of those attitudes and the impressing upon people the importance of dealing with these problems proactively is still a pressing issue for us, and we're doing what we can to link the customers that we work with together, putting people in touch with the right people to make sure the right information is exchanged from our customers to other customers, to help them sort of mobilize and to this sort of requirement, and to the realization that we are dealing with a serious issue that we need to tackle before it becomes an issue in the future.
I think that, as you say, there's that understanding of where this fits into the cycle. I've got a sort of image where it's the services, probably the highest uptake of the services on a private client is likely to be just pre or just post acquisition of a property, I'm guessing. So when they've been in there for a while, then they're probably not getting around to it, or they'll do it when they first move in, or if they're due to sell. I'm guessing from the commercial side of things, i.e. commercial clients as opposed to commercial property. As you say, it's this changing legislation that is forcing people to do it. And I'm guessing that I'm not up to speed in terms of the legalities, but I'm guessing there are financial consequences for providing unsafe housing stock these days.
Yeah, compensation plays its part with anything. Requirements for, how houses to be of an acceptable standard of repair, have always been present. But really, what the changes in the law are going to do is really underline the severity of the problems, and set real timeframes for people. Expected timeframes for owners of homes to react to these properties when they're aware of them. And yeah, that in our experience, as I say, we deal with a lot of different customers. We've serviced thousands upon thousands of houses in our time, and we see, our approach that we preach to people is, look, you can go down the route of cyclical maintenance, and you can try and cover the problem up and what have you, but in the long term, if you're a holder of housing stock, you need that to be an asset. You need that property to be an asset, not something that's a liability. And something that is cyclical maintenance will inevitably, be on cyclical maintenance in perpetuity. You'll repair it, every 12 to 24 months for the rest of its life until it's dealt with properly. And not only that, you may go down the legal route with it once or twice, during separate tenancies. So that property needs to become an asset that then goes away. It goes away. It goes into the housing stock as a real sort of revenue generator, rather than something that's absorbing, eating revenue from the coffers. And that's one of the challenges that we face as well, is sometimes changing that mindset and saying, look, that you as a landlord that owns, a lot of properties or any property, what you're doing is you're playing, you're really playing the long game, especially into social housing. That the organization benefits if houses are good for 30 years. Whereas if they're on cyclical maintenance, they are, as I say, just you're hemorrhaging revenue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not going to a little bit tongue in cheek, I guess. I'm not going to ask what you'd have done differently. You said that 1983, your dad founded the company and everything like that. But what I am going to ask is, what are you doing differently now to either what you used to do in the past, or what other people are doing generically across the same industry?
Yeah, well, the company is unrecognizable from, shall we say, certainly the days when it was founded in the 80s, the 90s, and whatnot. Because we're, for one, we're in a different technological age, which feeds into how we're approaching things differently. So really, I mean, the company at its height a few decades ago really got to where really the best of the companies could get to with the technology and information management that was available to it. And that declined steadily, and until my brother and I we became involved around about 8 years ago now. And yeah, we went through this wholesale sort of technological revolution, really. The business at that point had no website, it had no formal electronic record keeping processes, and it has all of those things in sort of in such a robust way that all of those things are really taken care of now. What we've done, I guess, to move on to talk about what we've done differently to the sector, is just we've sweated technology as much as we possibly can, and we've looked at process improvement. We have when neither my brother nor I are from a construction background. We've had our own different respective careers prior to coming into this, and from our perception and our assessment of the industry, there seems to be this kind of accepted sort of inefficiency. Oh, that's just the way it is. It's construction being what it is, it kind of has this sort of, we'll start a project and we'll come back to it, or we'll have a couple of days on this other project, touch upon it. And it seems to be how things are really managed. And everything in our view was very overstaffed to plug in efficiencies, and everything was very slow and very sleepy and very boring. But what we've done is and this does feed into our technological advances, is we've created a process for delivering what it is that we do in a way that really serves the customer, doesn't sort of inconvenience the customer. And we've done it in such a way that a project starts and it finishes. It doesn't go on hold for a few weeks. It doesn't go away. We don't disappear inexplicably for months on end. We start and we finish. And ultimately that's the best way to generate the most revenue for the business, because if you're doing that, you're closing projects, you're winning projects. You haven't got work in progress piling up and piling up and piling up because you've touched 40, 50 projects and you're not bringing them to a close. So that we've never approached it in any way other than that. The other thing that we've done is really we've gotten into automation and process improvement. Through automation has been massive for us in the last few years. We work with a cloud-based case management system here. I won't go into the intricacies, but we automate so much of what we do through that. And we did an assessment of a few weeks ago about how many things we were curious, how many things does our case management system do for us that we would otherwise have to do for ourselves? And in 1 week, there were 6,000 different tasks taken care of by automation that would have previously been done by staff members. That's massive, absolutely massive. And it keeps us lean. So as we've grown, that kind of progress has kept us really lean, really quick. We tick off everything that we need to do on a project every time, because our system either does it for us or it reminds us to do it at the right time. And that can't be understated. From the point of a director and having control over a business, that level of control and making sure that system is checking, just giving the team those subtle hints and that little bit of extra help in places where before things were laborious and took time. It keeps people on task. It keeps people accountable. It prevents things from being boring at times. It's an incredibly powerful tool. And so we really work on that level of our service provision to make sure our customers benefit from that as well, not just us. So that kind of automation enables us to give customers visibility on what's happening on their project in a live setting. And to giving live dashboards to customers, showing people what date we've organized to survey something, to start something, when we anticipate we're going to finish it, when it is finished, whether it's got everything it needs to come to completion. It's there and visible in a live setting for all of our customers. And that keeps us accountable, and it keeps our customers as informed as they can possibly be at any stage. You know, middle of the night, they can check on how we're doing, and that's great. Really builds, or has built, a real sort of feeling of a commitment and that kind of sense of personal and team accountability to doing what we say we will do first time, every time. That's our real strength, and that's what we've tried to do very differently.
Yeah, no, excellent. And on a continuation of that, then what's next for you? What's the future and the next few years hold as a business, but also in terms of your journey of where you're heading?
Sure. Well, where are we next? So we're coming to a point where we are reaching saturation in Yorkshire. So we'll be looking beyond the boundary a little more keenly in years to come. For us, procurements are really, the procured means of providing services is a huge sort of opportunity for growth for us. We're going to look at new ways of delivering our services, building different sort of streams through which our work can be delivered to customers, because some customers wish to order work differently to others, and it doesn't suit us to be a one-trick pony in that sense. So we're going to look at alternative means and methods of delivering our services. And in terms of obviously procurement relates to the commercial market. In relation to the private market, possibly some visibility, some higher visibility in terms of marketing. And we've looked at many different forms of marketing. We do a lot on the web. We're doing a lot of social value initiatives locally. We're always looking to grow contacts throughout Yorkshire, and really, I think, give back and build good opportunities with people through networking and what have you in future. And yeah, we're really hopeful for those kind of things to almost keep feeding the machine, really, in terms of our capabilities for delivering surveys and project work.
It's interesting because the fact that you've built the process, you've given yourself scope for repeatability. Through repeatability means that down the line, to grow the business, acquisition of a client base where you can implement your system into a ready-made client base may give you more traction than trying to do it organically.
Absolutely, it does.
Because otherwise you're trying to grow your network in an area that you are not part of that network. But actually, what you bring to the table is a systemized approach of delivering for the client wherever they may be. Sure. All it needs to do is be replicatable within the system, and then you can, look at acquisition of other businesses that have the customer base but maybe don't have the same focus on that repeatability to move it forward. So no, it's really interesting. It sounds like very exciting times in terms of what the next few years is going to throw up. Interesting, as you say, that you may be reaching a point of saturation just in Yorkshire. Might be the time to widen horizons a little bit and see sort of where it heads from there. So very interesting time. So it's bringing us towards the end of the interview. Quick sense check: is there anything that we've not covered, or anything that you'd like to add, or whatever that we've not already breezed past? Or
I don't think so. I think to conclude, we're a company that's always looking for talent to add to our to our ranks. We haven't mentioned recruitment and what have you. Recruitment of trade individuals incredibly difficult. It has been incredibly difficult in the past and remains so. We've really cut through, I think, the problems that we have had in the past by developing in-house training. We're not an industry that has the sort of the good fortune for there to be lots of ready-made individuals that can just walk in and pick up the tools and do what we do. So we have to have that kind of cyclical training program to make sure everybody is brought in and set to task correctly, doing things as we wish them to be done. That we know will, done in such a way that we know that the work that we will do will last for our customers. So that has really helped. We're not a company that, for instance, if we were an electrical company, we could recruit electricians to do things that electricians are trained to do. We're a very niche company. We do a niche thing. It's something that is difficult. It can be hard to pick up, but getting that training process in place for a sector like ours has been absolutely game changing for us. So we look upon recruitment as not now a necessary evil. It's a real opportunity now. We add good people, we put those people through the training, we swell our ranks, and then we move on again. The only problem these days is just finding enough work for everybody.
And it's a good way of doing it. There's a lot of businesses that grow through piecemeal. So when we've got enough work, then we start to add to our capacity and capabilities. And there's always that teetering on the cusp of, is it commercially viable? Should we do it now, or should we wait until we've got even more? And what happens if we take somebody on and then don't have the work for them? The only way to grow effectively is create the space for people to grow into. The moment that you define it by where you currently are, you're missing the trick of where you're going to be in the future. And that becomes a little bit of a chicken and egg, but it's that sort of always playing catch up kind of thing. And it's not the right way of doing it. Through the people, getting them involved with the culture, the sustainability of you as an industry, which in my mind is part of a circular sort of a circular economy, if you like, that you're making sure you're not just building new housing stock, you're fixing what's already there. You're not just ditching it, so it's got a much better carbon footprint and everything in the long run. So it does make sense, and I think that will resonate with a lot of the new generation of people coming through, that there is a sustainability of what you do, rather than you just do something that's a service to some people as and when they want it. So
absolutely, and that really does that is kind of a USP of what we do. We're not just an organization that's pushing new housing stock, because we have old ones. Someone lives in those, someone needs to live in those, and they can be really good homes if they're treated correctly. And you're right, sustainability is big, such a huge focus for all businesses at the moment. My team will kick me if I don't mention this, that we are the UK's first net zero damp proofing company, which we're incredibly proud of, and we're going to continue to push the envelope of the our reducing our carbon footprint and offsetting what carbon we create year on year. So we're yes, we are pushing sustainability. We're pushing thermal upgrades on existing homes and good ventilation and what have you, to make those homes, the older homes, as good as they can be for the modern inhabitant. Yeah,
absolutely. And as I say, it's one of the biggest things moving forward. When you're saying about increasing your outreach and the message that you're putting out, that probably needs to be the number one of what you do. That then links into the culture of how you do it. And then before you know it, people are actually buying in to your values rather than your product. Big game changer. So that does bring us to the end, and it's absolutely fascinating hearing how quite a traditional kind of industry has moved absolutely, from a preconceived way of doing things to a very modern approach to this is what we do and how it serves the community. So thank you for sharing that, Wes. I think it's very insightful, and surely will be for your potential clients as well as for your existing clients as well. So if you like, Wes, if you want to share your story, if you're in the area and want to record your own spotlight interview, simply get in touch. When we post these videos, we'll always put a link to be able to book in your own. We'd be more than happy to host it, and look forward to sharing other people's journeys as well. Big thank you again to Wes, really insightful, and thank you for sharing your journey and where you're heading into the future. So thank you for that. And once again, a thank you for everyone who's been watching another of our Business Spotlight interviews. We'll see you soon. Keep smiling.